The European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, where this weekend the amazing debut season of Lewis Hamilton took yet another dramatic new twist. A huge accident in qualifying yesterday afternoon miraculously left him virtually unscathed and also past fit to race. But he will be starting from the very unfamiliar 10th place on the grid, whereas his championship rivals were at the head of the field. Lewis had come into this race with a 12-point championship lead and a perfect 9 out of 9 record of podium finishes. But what could he do from that 10th place on the grid? And could Kimi Raikkonen on pole position make it 3 wins out of 3? Your commentators for the European Grand Prix, Martin Brundle, and first of all taking us through the grid is James Allen.
It's looking pretty good for Kimi Raikkonen. He has his second pole position of the season. It could have been Alonso's, but he made a mistake on his qualifying lap. He's on the outside of the front row. Massa and Heidfeld make up row 2. Heidfeld in a pretty light BMW. Robert Kubica, his teammate, is just behind in 5th. Mark Webber, a fantastic performance in 6th for Red Bull. Kovalainen again out-qualifies his teammate. He's 7th. Jarno Trulli is 8th for Toyota. The Ralf Schumacher renaissance continues. Lewis Hamilton starts 10th after his accident in qualifying. The 2 Williams are outside the top 10. They're on row 6. Rosberg ahead of Wirtz. Fisichella a bit off form this weekend in 13th. Barrichello is 14th for Honda. The 2 Super Aguris having a fantastic qualifying. Davidson ahead of his illustrious teammate Sato. They make up row 8. Jenson Button in 17th, very frustrated by a lack of grip in his car. Scott Speed alongside him. Liuzzi and a very frustrated David Coulthard down in 20th. At the back, the Spikers have 2 German drivers, Winkelhock making his debut.
The Nürburgring, a challenging circuit with a lot of contour changes. A 3.2 mile lap, average speed 125 miles an hour. Michael Schumacher, a 5 times winner here. They're even naming a chicane after him. We caught up with another local hero, Nick Heidfeld of BMW, to talk about the key points. Now, what are the particular challenges of this Nürburgring racetrack?
Well, actually it's a new part that they changed a couple of years ago. The first couple of corners are quite difficult. On the back of the circuit we have a very quick chicane uphill, which actually nowadays with a V8, at least with good grip conditions and with low fuel, is easy flat.
The Michael Schumacher chicane then, easy flat out, says Nick Heidfeld, which it is, of course, as long as your car is working properly. At the same corner yesterday, Lewis Hamilton had an enormous accident when the front tyre was deflated due to a slightly loose front wheel. He turned in, no grip at all, straight across the gravel trap, the car flying through the air before he plunged very heavily into the tyre barrier. Thankfully, he will start today's race.
Hello everybody, beautiful aerial shot of this Eifel region on which the clouds are closing in, if you believe a lot of people up and down the pit lane. Well, twice in the last 4 years I've stood up here describing what looked like certain victories for Kimi Raikkonen, and on both occasions fate has intervened. So can this man turn around his jinx at the Nürburgring?
And there's the rain in the top of your screen. It is coming in and it looks hard too. That cloud in isolation is heading this way.
There's a man who knew how to master wet conditions. Fingers crossed, says Schumacher.
This is the most difficult moment for a Grand Prix driver with the changeable conditions. And of course they'll all start on dry tyres.
Interestingly, Markus Winkelhock has decided to start this race from the pit lane. That might turn out to be an inspired decision. When the 5 lights go out, we're racing Raikkonen on the right, Alonso on the left. The European Grand Prix is go. Great getaway for Raikkonen. Alonso comes across to cover Massa. They're side by side. Kubica's already passed Heidfeld, his teammate, and it looks like Massa's looking strong as well. He's having a go around the outside of Raikkonen. Into turn 1, Raikkonen goes very deep. That allows Alonso through past Massa. So now Massa comes back at him again. He's in 2nd place, Alonso 3rd, and the 2 BMWs collide with each other. Hamilton went round the outside there, but Heidfeld spun Kubica, and is Hamilton involved in that as well? Seems to be struggling to get grip in his car. It's probably
wet.
The wet track, I think, that's troubling.
It's wet there. I think Hamilton's got a left rear puncture. I think he did just tag the BMW. He had a brilliant start, absolutely working out beautifully, up to P4 from P10, and he's got a left rear puncture, I believe. He's got to be careful he doesn't get caught up. There's a Red Bull at the top of the screen going off. It's Coulthard. He's coming back on track through the service road. The track then quite clearly very slippery in places. Massa launched off the line and immediately past Alonso. Hamilton struggling then, he'll turn in and the car will feel horrible down there. What a dismal weekend Lewis Hamilton is having. This has really put him on his back foot, and more contact.
It was Rosberg and Barrichello, I believe. They were battling over 11th places. No, there's that Jenson Button up there as well. You can see how hard the rain is coming down now. All the
car
field
spinning at the back, two spinning at the back there, up into turn 9. And carnage going on. One of them was the Williams of Rosberg. Will they decide to pit this lap? These groove tyres do not work well in these conditions at all.
Raikkonen has missed the chicane. He's going to dive into the pit lane, is he? Surely, yes he is. So's Massa, so is Alonso.
Oh, he's gone off, Raikkonen's gone off.
Straight on, he's missed it. He's missed the pit lane. That could cost him victory here this afternoon. Without a doubt, he's got to do another lap in these atrocious conditions on dry tyres and on such tiny moments to race his turn. Some people are going through and braving it for another lap. Lots of people into the pits. Massa, Alonso, Webber, Button, Kovalainen, Speed, Liuzzi, Ralf Schumacher, Davidson and surely Lewis Hamilton also pitting as well. Intermediate tyres going onto the Ferrari, and Raikkonen has stayed up. So has Wirtz and Trulli. Alonso is slow away. He's lost the place to Massa. Ted Kravitz.
The place to Massa, but that was in the pits. They came in, McLaren came in, Alonso got out behind Felipe Massa. Lewis Hamilton now also in. Everybody switching onto the intermediates. It's not yet wet enough for the full wet tyres. And Nick Heidfeld comes in very slowly with damage. Barrichello will pass him, but Lewis Hamilton only just got out, and he's behind a load of cars. That has not worked out well for Lewis.
Well, he was a long way down the field. It was a left rear puncture, and that was beautiful for Massa in terms of he was going to have to queue at the Ferrari pit behind his teammate Raikkonen. Raikkonen missed the pit lane, having initially got in there, slipped back out again, and that allowed Massa an unhindered stop. And there is Raikkonen then tippy-toeing around on slicks. What is he doing down at the hairpin? Did he do another lap then? Well,
Yeah.
He must have gone off if that's only as far as he's got in that amount of time.
He must absolutely have done, and as you can see, the Spiker's driving away from him. That Spiker on the wet tyres, and off the track goes Giancarlo Fisichella. So very soon, Massa and Alonso will come up to catch Kimi Raikkonen. And well, it's chaos in the early stage of this race. I wonder if that was Winkelhock. Yes, it is. And he's leading the race. He was the man who started from the pit lane. Well, I said it might turn out to be inspired, starting from the pit lane. And on his debut, the 27-year-old in a Spiker is going to come through, Izzy, and lead a lap. Absolutely extraordinary situation. Kimi Raikkonen, meanwhile, is really struggling. It's very, very treacherous out there. Not sure how long this rain shower is going to last. And there is the man who looks certain to win this race this afternoon. Fate has once again intervened in the life of Kimi Raikkonen, but boy, are we going to get a fight back from him. He's now, look, a lap down on his teammate Massa and on Alonso. Looks like one of the Hondas is very well up there.
Well, Winkelhock does indeed lead as Raikkonen pits. Massa second, Alonso third. Winkelhock's 19 seconds ahead of them, and it is Button up into what is now P4. Jenson Button clearly took his intermediates early on. They're giving it a twist to front wing. You need a different aero balance. You need a little bit more front wing normally with the intermediate tyres to give you some turn in to the corners.
Okay, let's establish the order as we've lost. I think that's Button. Oh no, Jenson Button was running in 4th place. He has gone off on intermediate tyres. So clearly not even enough grip from those. Winkelhock leads, or does he? Spiker flies off the racetrack. Adrian Sutil.
That's a McLaren.
Is that Hamilton? It is Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton on lap 3 has gone off, along with the Honda of Button and also the looks like the Spiker of Sutil. Did he hit Sutil, I wonder?
No, they're aquaplaning now. There's so much water, the intermediates. Here comes another one, and this is going to get nasty. They're going to have to put the safety car out. What they're doing now is just aquaplaning off the racetrack. The intermediates will not clear sufficient amounts of water, and that is a Superaguri that might just live for another day. And the rest of them are all deep in the gravel trap, and there'll be more in there yet unless they slow down. But it's crawling pace you need, otherwise you're in a canoe, you're not in a Formula 1 car. Anthony Davidson should be able to get reverse and get out of there. I would not be running out there if I were you, gentlemen. There will be other cars in if you're not careful.
6 cars then stranded down at turn 1. One of them is World Championship leader Lewis Hamilton. The safety car has been deployed by race director Charlie Whiting. Understandably. Oh, that's a big one. That's one of the Toro Rosso spinning round. It's Tonio Liuzzi who makes gentle contact with the tractor, and these are very dangerous moments for the marshals down there.
Crazy to let anything and anybody out there until they've neutralised the race, because everything's going to arrive backwards. You do not want to be going underneath one of those digger trucks.
Yeah, Winkelhock comes into the pits for some full wet tyres.
It is undrivable.
It's safety car now, safety car, Nick, safety car.
Okay, so Winkelhock's dived into the pits. He had a 19-second lead over Massa and Alonso, who were running in second and third places, and we wait to see exactly what the order is. We've lost at least 6 cars down at turn 1. One of them is Jenson Button. There is Lewis Hamilton, who simply doesn't want to leave his car. He can't believe that he's out of this race. Looks like he may have kept the engine in, has he? Surely not. Yes, he has. Look at that.
Well,
That's incredible.
He's allowed to be moved from a dangerous position. He's kept the engine running. We know those McLarens will tick over for apparently ever. And as he's been moved out of a dangerous place, we saw that happen with Michael Schumacher here, of course, quite controversially actually, and went on to get a result. So I think Hamilton will be fine there.
Yeah, we saw it. He collided with Juan Pablo Montoya a few years ago down at the Dunlop curve, the bottom of the track. And he was able to get a push from the marshals because it was construed as a dangerous place, and rejoin the race. Hamilton will undoubtedly argue the same thing, and he lives to fight another day. Winkelhock, meanwhile, is leading this race, and he's on the full wet tyre. I'm sure a lot of other people will be coming in for that at the moment. That's the order at the moment. As you can see, Winkelhock still leading on his Formula One debut in a Spiker. That's how crazy the opening of this European Grand Prix has become. And obviously no overtaking allowed under the safety car. So that's the order that it will be until this rain is considered safe enough to start again.
This is Massa then heading off the road. Does he get away with that? And behind him there, Button is the first one off then. Button is the first one into the barrier. He'll be followed by another 5 cars as they float. And this is Hamilton with his wheels locked up and just nerves the barrier. He'll get away with that. Luckily, the Spiker missed him completely. And now are they red flagging it? They've red flagged the race.
Well, we're joined from the Spiker pit wall by Mike Gascoigne, the team's technical director. Mike, what an extraordinary start to the race, and Winkelhock, an inspired decision by you, I guess, to bring him in and start from the pit lane.
Yeah, James, we made the call. We saw the shower coming in. We'd had it predicted for sort of 10 minutes after the start, but it was a bit earlier. And obviously with Marcus starting from the back, it was a pretty low risk thing for us, so we went for it and it worked out perfectly.
So he's just come into the pits again, Mike, and presumably has gone to the full wet tyre.
Yeah, that's right. He's gone to the extreme wet, but we've just been red flagged, so that's a shame, but we're still in a good position.
So the race has been red flagged now. For the benefit of all the viewers at the home in the UK and around the world, Mike, just tell us what's going to happen.
Well, we're going to stop now. We'll stop at the red flag line. They'll wait for conditions to improve, and then we'll start the countdown.
Yeah, so you think will they canvass the drivers, Mike, or the teams? Who makes this decision now as to when the track is safe to resume?
I think, well, obviously Charlie, and that he'll probably ask some opinions, but I think it's going to be fairly straightforward. I mean, it dries exceptionally quickly when it stops raining here, and of course they can restart it under the safety car as well.
We've got a red flag here at the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, and there'll be a countdown fairly soon to the restart once the race director is satisfied that the conditions are safe enough. An awful lot happened here in the opening lap of this race. The sun, would you believe it, has come out now, but the race director, having seen 6 cars slide off into turn 1, some of them quite quickly and in quite a dangerous way, decided very sensibly, first of all, to put out the safety car and then to put out the red flag, which means that the race has been suspended. The restart order will be Winkelhock, Massa, Alonso, Webber 4th, Coulthard 5th, Kovalainen 6th, the pole sitter, Kimi Räikkönen, who missed the pit lane when the weather conditions were very bad on the dry tyre. He simply went straight on, back on the track, and had to do an extra lap on the dry tyre, is down in 7th place. And Louise Goodman has found Nico Rosberg, one of the cars eliminated down at turn 1.
Yeah, James, and incredibly, we're standing in the pit lane in sunshine. But Nico, just describe for us the conditions you were experiencing out there a moment ago.
Well, first of all, on the start lap, it was very, very difficult because with the hard tires, and it was pretty humid everywhere, and it was just very difficult. And then afterwards, we came into the pits at the right time, I think, and afterwards it was just aquaplaning on the track, and I drove slowly into the first corner, really slowly, because they said to me yellow flags. So I really braked early. I didn't even brake, actually. I was just rolling towards it, and then the car just lifts onto the water, and that's it. You just swim on top of it, and there's no way of coming back from that.
Let's take a look at the restart from Hamilton's point of view. He gets away very, very well. Past Jarno Trulli, past Mark Webber, who was 6th on the grid, so he's already made up a few places here. Look at this, it's candy from a baby for Hamilton. It's going so well at this point. Down the inside, 2 BMWs to his left. They get into each other in a minute.
Complete stupidity from the BMW drivers here. And I wonder if that yes it did, just tagged the back of Lewis's car, which gave him that left rear puncture. And now this is Lewis also then heading off. Jenson Button getting out of the car extremely quickly. That's a very dangerous moment. And this is Hamilton being put. He kept the engine running through all of that period of time. Helped when it's raining and not too hot. But it's something they've evolved this year, so he can get down to the pit lane for qualifying. Has paid dividends. This is the beginning of the second start procedure, so the race simply continues on.
Yes, it does. The clock has already started to count down, and we've got somebody there. A bit slow away. There's Kubica with the orange helmet, just wiggling from side to side in the BMW. He was one of the 2 men who got together there, causing that incident for Lewis Hamilton. The cars that will not take the restart then: Jenson Button in the Honda, Adrian Sutil in the Spiker, Nico Rosberg in the Williams, Scott Speed and Antonio Liuzzi both in the Toro Rossos. Lewis Hamilton will start at the back of the field, and he will be hoping that the field bunches up a bit more. Big blast of smoke out the back of Wirtz's car. That is Kimi Räikkönen's 80-year-old grandmother. He brought her along for luck. So far, it's not been a lucky granny. Nick Heidfeld has taken advantage of the pit lane being open. He's put on a set of intermediate tyres. May well have put some fuel in there. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Yeah, no, he didn't put fuel in, but he did take off the extreme wets and put on the intermediates, as you say.
Well, I certainly expected the safety car to come in earlier than this, but one advantage for Lewis Hamilton, and it's a massive advantage, is that under the rules this year, he's allowed to unlap himself. All lap cars can pass the pack and rejoin, and there he goes past the safety car. That'll surprise more than a few drivers, and he can go round to the back of the field. He is, of course, the only lap driver, and that's why he's on his own now out front. Hamilton then has to put a charge on and get himself round to the back of the pack. I think Hamilton's getting. He's coming in the pits. Hamilton's pitting, so some interesting strategy going on here. They're going to take this opportunity to put some fuel in and still hope to get him on the back of the pack. Where is the pack exactly on the track would be an interesting piece of information.
Dry tyres. Dry tyres. Hamilton has taken advantage of driving a fast lap on this racetrack. He thinks it's dry enough to go for the full dry tyre with the 4 grooves in it. Everybody else is going to be starting, are they, on the intermediates? Winkelhock is on the full wet. This is the restart then, under racing conditions. And Winkelhock leads them through. Massa 2nd, Alonso 3rd, Webber, Coulthard, Kovalainen 6th, 7th Räikkönen. Not particularly close to the back of Kovalainen.
Look at Alonso.
Here comes Alonso, though, having a go as they come down towards Winkelhock, who doesn't really want to get involved in this. And Alonso follows. Here comes Coulthard up the inside of his teammate. Coulthard takes the place away. So he's got Winkelhock to get now. Massa rebuffs Alonso, but Alonso tries to go around the outside.
There's plenty of space out there if it all goes wrong, and Coulthard up the inside of Winkelhock, then up into 3rd place. Webber trying to go around the outside of the Spiker driver and gets up the inside of his teammate. He found some purchase out there, didn't he? Found plenty of grip. Massa leads then from Alonso, and Coulthard resumes third.
So Winkelhock going backwards because he's on the full wet tyre on a spiker, and everyone else, including Raikkonen now, who's expected to win this race and seen his dreams shatter, goes around the outside of Winkelhock. He moves up a place. Where is Lewis Hamilton, you're asking? He's off the racetrack is the answer. He's had a spin down at the Dunlop curve. He is, so these dry tyres he's gambled on. At the moment, not such a great gamble.
It's too wet. Surely it's just too wet to run those tyres. But there you go. Oh, the two Red Bulls very close together. That is a great line that Webber's got out of turn 3. But somehow they majestically put Lewis back into contention behind the safety car, very generously, I think. And then they go and do that. Winkelhock back in 14th place now. And this is a replay of when he was passed by both Massa and Alonso. There is Coulthard slithering up the inside of teammate Mark Webber and makes that one stick. Winkelhock under pressure on those full wets. Hasn't worked out at the moment. They need the magic cloud and it's not in sight.
Hamilton's just done a personal best for the middle sector and he's on the same pace as the race leaders. This track is drying out quickly. That's a look at Hamilton when he went off the track, having just put the dry tyres on. That's down at the Dunlop curve. We saw that earlier on. Hamilton sets a purple first final sector, so the dry tyres are the ones to be on now. You will see people diving into the pits pretty soon. No doubt about that whatsoever. Hamilton finally is on the right tyre at the right time. The problem is he is now a lap down on everybody else, and Ferrari feel it is the moment. Here comes Kimi Raikkonen taking a gamble, as he has to really. He's down in 6th place, 7 seconds off the race lead.
This could bring Raikkonen fully into play here if he can get out on those dry tyres and light them up immediately. You've got to have the confidence to get into the braking zone and just get on it and keep. They're hot, they're fresh out of the blankets, they're 90 plus degrees, and by the time he gets down to turn 1 they'll probably be around 70, 75. Then you've just got to light them straight back up. That's why you need enough grip, and even driving through this bit of spray is having a dramatic effect on the pressures and temperatures.
Also pitting, Burt, Davidson and Winkelhock, and Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:44.0. When they're racing properly on a dry track, it's going to be something around 33 seconds, 1 minute 33 seconds, so they're still 11 seconds off the pace. It's still a real handful for Lewis Hamilton on dry tyres out there, but he's speeding up all the time and starting to carve his way through the field. This is going to be spectacular.
So now the car will feel underneath him, and it's like a double whammy. The harder you push, the harder you brake, the more grip you get, and he can just drive clean past people. And he's still only in the first sector, about the same time as those on the intermediate tyres, and then he's much faster through the end of the lap. So Hamilton now coming alive, but he's got so much work to do from there, but he looks like he's ready to do it.
And he's also going to have a lot of cars diving into the pit lane and creating a space in front of him. He's passed a few, but there's a lot he is not going to have to pass. In come Massa and Alonso. It's a straight pit stop race between the two mechanics. We have to watch carefully if they put fuel in as well. We can only really watch one at a time. Ted Kravitz.
Well, they are putting a little bit of fuel in Fernando Alonso, and a tiny little splash in the Ferrari as well, but they're also having to make, look at that on the front wing, they're having to make changes to the front wing because on the grid they were ranking on the, putting a load of front wing on the cars so that they'd stay on the ground, and now they're going to have to take that front wing off as the Toyota and Kubica's BMW comes in as well.
As off goes Marcus Winkelhock, having led on his debut, and a bit of flame coming out of the exhaust there. Well, he'll remember today for a while, won't he?
He will. I think all of the drivers out there will remember it for one reason or another.
That's the top 8 at the moment then. Massa on that last lap setting a new fastest lap, trying to break the toe of Alonso. He took 0.3 of a second out of him on that last lap, and look at Raikkonen. After all that misfortune early on, he has managed to get himself back into 3rd place.
The red flag helped Raikkonen, of course, eliminate any gap that had built up. So, and then a couple of decent moves, an early stop onto the dry tyres, 1 lap earlier than Massa and Alonso, has paid dividends for Kimi Raikkonen. Just 4.8 seconds off the lead now, and lapping faster than anybody else, faster than Hamilton, who's 16th. now that Winkelhock has dropped out of the race. 16 runners then, 6 retirements.
Here we go, on board with Kovalainen, then he's going to make a move. Wirtz goes defensive. Kovalainen forces his way down the inside, under braking into turn 1. Wirtz tries to go round the outside, but he didn't really resist all that strongly, and Kovalainen is through into 5th place.
Oh, there's some more contact.
That's Ralf Schumacher, I believe.
That'll be the Toyota of Schumacher and Heidfeld in the BMW into the final turn. Ralf Schumacher beached and out of the Grand Prix.
Shaking his head, one of the 4 German drivers in the field for this afternoon's race.
Sorry, but that's unbelievable.
That's actually quite a dangerous place as well, isn't it, Martin?
It's not a good place to be standing around, that's for sure. If they've got some kind of little vehicle they can drag that out of the way with, it'll be under double-waved yellows. And here comes the tractor that'll pull that out of the way, and I think Ralf wants to stand there and shake his fist at his fellow countryman Nick Heidfeld. He's not going to be allowed to do that.
Approaching the halfway stage in the European Grand Prix from the Nürburgring, you're looking at Heikki Kovalainen, who's just made a pit stop. He was 5th, he is now 10th. He got tired of sitting behind Mark Webber in the battle for 4th and 5th places. Not sure if that was a tactical stop or a necessary one, but either way, he's dropped back behind his teammate Giancarlo Fisichella. We're riding on board with Nick Heidfeld, who's in 8th place. And how to sum up this race? It started under a big cloud, literally a rain cloud that caused chaos in the first few laps. Everybody flying around and struggling to get any grip. Lewis Hamilton went off the racetrack but was able to get back on again. He's taken a gamble which has not paid off with an early move to the dry tyres. He's currently in 14th place. The race leader is Felipe Massa. He's almost 6 seconds clear of Fernando Alonso, and at this stage of the Grand Prix the Ferrari does look the faster car. I think Alonso's 2nd place is under serious threat from Raikkonen, who is just behind him in 3rd. Mark Webber is 4th, Wirtz is 5th, Coulthard is in 6th place, Kubica is 7th, and Heidfeld in 8th. As Fisichella makes another stop from 9th place.
Long fueling then to get him to the end of the race. Fisichella on the harder tyre. That is far and away the best race tyre. So he will go to the end of the Grand Prix. And Massa's lead now 7.4 seconds over Alonso. And Raikkonen, crucially, has dropped another 2/10 behind Alonso. Raikkonen doesn't have an answer.
He certainly doesn't. On that last lap, Raikkonen was 4/10 slower than Alonso. Let's see if we can see any reason why. Maybe just the setup of the car not exactly how he wants it. Hamilton coming up behind Giancarlo Fisichella in 13th place.
For position.
This is for position. Fisichella, of course, made that pit stop that dropped him down. That's what's put him in this position. But he doesn't have to stop again. Hamilton does. Up the inside goes Hamilton. Fisichella doesn't feel like giving him any room. Hamilton keeps his foot in. We've seen this pass many, many times. The corners keep changing directions one after the other, but not this time for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, Lewis quite smart there. He was heading into an inevitable loss of front wing and got out of it. But it was only a matter of time. You can't blame Fisichella, it is for position, but it's all these little seconds lost that'll make a difference as to how many points, if any, Lewis Hamilton scores this afternoon. And this will be another lap lost where he hasn't gained on those midfield runners.
Fisichella's pace is pretty slow. 1:36 as he's lapping in. Hamilton doing 1:33, so he's losing 3 seconds a lap. He is tucked up behind Fisichella.
A little bit of a confidence lift in the Michael Schumacher chicane where he went off yesterday. I don't blame him in the turbulent air of that run. And look how much faster he is on the apex. That is not a passing place, Lewis. And he'll lose some pace now down to the chicane. Now he's in the slipstream. He picked it up nicely. Surely he'll drill him up the inside now into... he is absolutely fearless, isn't he? 2 wheels on the grass. And it was just a matter then of when and not if he was going to pass. And thankfully, car is fully intact.
Raikkonen's in trouble.
At the hairpin. Is he? Yeah, it's cutting out on him. As he was slow on the way into the hairpin, and Intermittent, probably hydraulics, I'd imagine. The gear shift and the throttle pretty much work off the same system. And Kimi Räikkönen with a long way to go to get to the pit lane. Well, it's so unusual to see Ferrari have reliability issues. They've certainly had a few this year, and Kimi Räikkönen coasting at the moment, the car coming to life every so often.
And that could be quite significant in the championship battle. Lewis Hamilton pits behind Jarno Trulli, 12th and 13th places then in the pit lane. 26 to go, Ted Kravitz.
Yeah, Lewis comes into the pits straight in front of me, just but next door in Ferrari. They've cleared a space in the garage for Kimi Räikkönen, so they clearly believe that that one is absolutely terminal, but Lewis keeping it well under control, and quite a long stop, so he can go right through to the end of the race, but a flawless stop there by the McLaren boys.
Nice work by them. Into a podium position then goes Australia's Mark Webber. He is 19 seconds. No, he's not. He's 25 seconds behind Alonso in third place, and he's got Alex Wurz right behind him, only a second behind. So a tremendous scrap going to come along stream there as we take another look at Hamilton and Fisichella, I believe.
Yeah, replay as you can see, and look at that. There's a bit of grasscrete on the outside there, and Lewis uses that and then just stays on the grass. So Fisichella probably thought he got all the bases covered there, but he gave him a half a car's width and he took it. And then it was easy thereafter. So unfortunately Lewis pitting quite quickly after that, so he's got to do it all over again, I would imagine. There's Räikkönen, he has made it to the end of the pit lane, and can he just creep up that hill? But I doubt there's much they can do. These cars are so complex, and how tantalisingly close is that? And this is Hamilton fancying a look at Jarno Trulli's Toyota for P12, so he's edging towards those World Championship points, but he's still 21 seconds behind the next man, Fisichella, who's already passed once before his pit stop. Alonso stops for the McLaren team, and of course again they'll refuel that to the end of the race, and Hamilton gets past the Toyota easily.
Yeah, Hamilton picks up 12th place. He is now 20 seconds behind Giancarlo Fisichella in 11th, with 23 laps of the race to go. So it's a forlorn chase for points for Hamilton here. Meanwhile, his teammate Alonso doesn't have to worry about Räikkönen anymore. He's comfortably in second place, and knowing his percentage playing, he may have settled for that.
Massa pits from the lead. It's lap 38. He's 11.4 seconds ahead of Alonso, or he was before Alonso stopped. Ferrari then covering the McLaren stop of Alonso.
Yeah, it's going to be quite close with Webber when he comes back out again. Webber's 26 seconds behind, behind Alonso. It won't be that close actually.
No,
Massa's changing his tyres. Watch those wheel covers. That cut one of the mechanics' hands earlier this weekend. There's new aerodynamic wheel covers on the Ferrari, and he's going to be comfortably out in front of Mark Webber, who will of course have to stop again himself, I'm sure.
Yeah. And Mark Webber then, who's that going through? Presumably Hamilton to unlap himself, it is indeed. So the other McLaren's at the top of your picture. And I noticed that crucially Alonso got out in front of Mark Webber, so he doesn't have that problem to cope with. So it's a straight fight then between Massa and Alonso. Kubica pits for BMW. He was just behind David Coulthard. Coulthard lapping, he's just done his fastest lap. He's in fourth at the moment. And away goes the BMW.
Closer, closer, closer he goes. Is he going to lunge? Yes, he is. Up the inside of Barrichello goes the fearless Lewis Hamilton, one of the best overtakers in the business, and he's up another place.
We're going to see that for the lead one of these days, or for the championship. He's so confident under braking, isn't it? You can see his mentality. He's like, okay, I'm going to get you any which way you don't go. I'm going there.
That's the top 8 at the moment then. Massa, Alonso, Coulthard, Webber, Wurz, Kovalainen, Kubica and Heidfeld. Hamilton is 2 seconds a lap faster than Fisichella, and he is 16 seconds behind him with 18 laps to go. David Coulthard pits from third place. That gives the place back to Mark Webber, who is now almost 4 seconds clear of Alex Wurz. Where will Coulthard feed back in again? It's looking like a terrific day here for Red Bull Racing. 17 laps to go, and it's in front of the BMWs that he's going to come out. So he rejoins in front of Kubica in 6th place.
Seemed a long while coming down on the rear jack. I don't know if he's got a clutch problem or whether just a synchronization problem there. But Coulthard then crucially out in front of the BMWs. Looking handy then for Red Bull. They're going to be a net third and fifth. Wirtz will be in between them at the moment. Still though, 17 laps remaining. Coulthard on his way.
Just 15 laps to go in this European Grand Prix. Felipe Massa is the race leader in the sole remaining Ferrari. There he is. He's almost 6 seconds clear of the McLaren of Fernando Alonso. Mark Webber's third, Alex Wirtz is fourth, Heikki Kovalainen fifth, and Coulthard is sixth. You can see Lewis Hamilton there. He's almost a lap down on Felipe Massa, and the crucial thing for Hamilton is to stay far enough ahead that the marshals don't wave the blue flags at him to tell him to get out of the way, so he'd have to lift off and let Massa through. That would harm his charge through. He's still trying to score some points. He hasn't now had to lift off and let Massa through, and that will hurt him hugely. Of course, he'll be able to travel behind Massa and still cut through the traffic, but he'd much rather have done it on his own, I think.
Well, he's not heading for a point at the moment unless somebody else retires. That's not the way to let a leader through. You lose way too much time like that. But if you go past, I think it's 4 blue flag posts, you will be penalised with a drive-through. I only saw the one there, but Lewis has very fairly let the leader through and doesn't want to get involved in this battle. Massa is not going to be slowing down. He's got Alonso in the sister McLaren of Hamilton bearing down on him, catching him 2 or 3 tenths of a second per lap, and Alonso very much on the rampage with 14 laps remaining.
Super slow-mo there of Massa, looking for his third victory of this 2007 season. And well, it's been an extraordinary afternoon. It's still not over yet. Started with a huge rainstorm. Lewis Hamilton found himself in a gravel trap and sat in the car and was lifted out by a crane, and someone's wheel cover has come off.
Thing, isn't it? It's one of those Ferrari front wheel things. That means surely the wheel's not too far behind it, doesn't? Oh no, that's just the cover.
As Massa almost hits, sees it at the last minute. Hamilton does as well. Obviously you can't see that sitting in the cockpit of the car until it's too late.
Yeah, so you're looking so far down the track, you can't really see the few metres in front of the car, and you're approaching at 185 miles an hour. Frankly, you're not looking at the track. It sounds a stupid thing to say, but you're looking for other reference points. Then at the last moment, it catches your attention. And look, did it finally get a thump there from the right front wheel of Fisichella?
Look at this, a little sting in the tail, rain in 7 minutes, and it takes a minute and a half to do a lap here. 12 to go, so if that forecast is right, it could be quite interesting and come just before the end of the race. Christian Horner there, whose driver Mark Webber is third, his other driver David Coulthard is sixth.
Yeah, Kovalainen's got ahead of Coulthard in those pit stops, so
the crowd looking for their raincoats with 11 laps to go here.
Kovalainen pits from 5th place, so he's well out of sync then on his fueling. And Ted has some news for us on the weather.
Well, that's very strange on Kovalainen, though, because we thought he was fueled to the end. So.
No, it's the tyres, Ted. He's put intermediate tyres on. Well, he's gambling, a bit more front wing. They're going for it. They're thinking it might work for him.
Absolute gamble that is, because nobody else is showing any sign of that. I'm down at Red Bull. They've got the intermediates ready, but they're not flinching quite yet. I suppose it's all or nothing for Renault, but the black clouds are coming in from the direction of the Dunlop hairpin.
There it is.
Here it comes. Now Kovalainen's going to be happy. That's extraordinary.
It's only raining in one part of the circuit, though. We're on the pit straight, and there's people standing outside on balconies opposite us. You can see Christian Horner there. He's waiting for the rain to come. Now it's raining on the pit straight, and the people on the balconies are all running in. Horner moves into action. So can Alonso close up in these difficult conditions? The track is very, very slippery. This is where sometimes you can see a driver really making a difference with that bit of extra feel he might have. Coulthard pits from 5th. Kubica pits from 7th. In comes Coulthard. I believe he's going to take on a new steering wheel as well. Or maybe not. Just new tyres.
I think he's been struggling getting out of the pits. They leave him up on the rear jack to get himself
here's the race leader.
A bit of a run at it, and he's got back safely to the pits. They've had enough grip to do that. And Alonso tucked up behind the Renault of Fisichella. Hamilton goes round again, staying on those slick tyres. I guess that's his gamble this time around. See if he can steal a point or two.
Possibly a reverse gamble also, because he'd have to queue up behind Alonso, who comes in now It's a straight race. Is Massa going out in front of him? Yes, he is. And it looks like he's going to be behind the Renault. Oh, that's very, very close with the Honda mechanics there. That really was a bit too close, frankly. And those Honda guys, well, they're pretty brave. They didn't really flinch, but I didn't like the look of that one little bit. And it got him out in front of Fisichella, who, of course, is a lap down. But nevertheless, that was touch and go stuff. Well, Hamilton's last lap, a 1:43.9 on dry tyres on a track that's getting wetter all the time. If it starts to dry out, arguably he might be doing the right thing if everybody has to come in again, but I think they'll all make intermediates last to the finish now. Currently in 8th place though, Lewis Hamilton. Staying out has given him a chance of a point. If he can keep it on the island and not get overtaken by Kovalainen, who is 16 seconds behind him, then he might just score a point.
Alonso just 1 second behind Massa now on these this is for the lead, look. Incredibly, Alonso so much, far 2 odd seconds faster than Massa in these conditions. And Alonso looking like he's in a different formula almost. Such is the extra grip that he's got. And he'll come back up the inside there, but Massa's got good drive out of turn 4. Alonso all over the back of that Ferrari. And away he goes. It's going to be fascinating to see what's going on behind them, because some pitted and some did not in the squabble for the other podium position, as the Renault just simply gets out of the way of Kovalainen, and down the hill they go then, the two leaders.
It seems to be wet in one part of the racetrack and not so wet in others. Alonso then tucked up behind Massa. He's got lots of opportunities, 6 laps to go here. And he's got the chicane, turn 13, he might have a chance. And he's also got turn 1 as well. He doesn't need to rush this, but you can see we're now moving into the zone where it's wet again.
Well, Massa was a lot more confident through that fast Senna chicane, that Michael Schumacher chicane rather. And now it seems Alonso's stronger in this part of the track.
Here he comes then. Can he get closer? This is for the lead of the European Grand Prix. Alonso needs this to mount a challenge for Hamilton in the World Championship. Hamilton's still in 8th place, on for 1 point. Not this time for Alonso, but if he can get good drive through the final corner and he's up alongside, he might be able to take Massa into turn 1. The crowd are loving this one. Alonso is risking everything. He really, really wants this. He wants the victory. Here we go. Tucked up he is. Massa looks in his mirrors. Where is he? Is he on my left? Is he on my right? Alonso goes for it. Side by side for victory here at the European Grand Prix. Under braking. Massa's on the inside, Alonso holds it alongside, don't touch, they don't touch, and Massa holds on to it.
Hamilton has to pit, it's raining too much, that crucial World Championship point will have gone, but this is all about the World Championship too. Alonso so much more confident on the brakes, but the Ferrari seems better in the medium and high speed corners, in the traction zones. So that's why they're ebbing and flowing through the track. But Alonso overall has the much faster car. It's just that Massa is continually placing.
They touch wheels!
Incredible! He's got away with it. He takes the lead. Alonso in the lead.
He's through. Fernando Alonso bangs wheels with Felipe Massa. That is absolutely the kind of uncompromising stuff you expect from the 2-time world champion.
Massa steaming then into, and this is down into that turn 5, I believe. And Alonso goes around the outside. Massa understeers into the side of him. A quick touch of tyres, and on they go.
An irony of ironies, that's the exact point where he lost it yesterday in qualifying, costing himself half a second, Fernando Alonso, in that very place. His car was totally out of control for about 60 metres. He managed to gather it up and get second on the grid. And in the same spot, he has gone past Felipe Massa for the lead of the European Grand Prix. The rain has stopped and the track is drying out very quickly, as it did before.
Hamilton is only 3 and a bit seconds now behind these two for a World Championship point. He might still, with Kovalainen's early pit stop and early run on those intermediate tyres, which would have taken quite a pounding. He is now actually only 3.7 seconds behind a World Championship point and lapping 3 seconds a lap faster. It might just incredibly still be on.
Well, he's only going to have 1 more lap to do it. His first target is Fisichella, his second target is Kovalainen. They are 3 seconds a lap slower than him. Fisichella looks like he might be able to get him into turn one. And the lion heart of Lewis Hamilton fully on display here, as is the same for his teammate Fernando Alonso. We've seen that already. Come on, Lewis, see if you can make up 2 places.
He's got 1 lap then for 2 places to pass the works Renault, and that's already costly that he hasn't been able to nail the first of the Renaults. He'll have to go wide, tuck up the inside into turn 3. He'll have a chance under braking into turn 3, but Kovalainen's found some, Fisichella has found some grip from somewhere. Meanwhile, Kovalainen getting away in front of them. Tantalisingly, there is a World Championship point just up the road.
Well, Fisichella knows that Kovalainen's got that point. He might play a little role in holding up Hamilton if he can. No, not for long. Hamilton's through. Now he's only got a few corners to go. Down the hill towards Dunlop goes Lewis Hamilton towards turn 7 on this 15-corner circuit. So he might have a chance to have a go at Kovalainen into the chicane. We look at the race leader, Fernando Alonso.
Coasting now,
having driven away from Massa. And it was the change in conditions at the end of the Grand Prix that have really played into his hands. And he's come through to take what will be his 18th career victory. And certainly looking at it about 45 minutes ago, you'd have said it was pretty unlikely. Massa was driving away from him by 8 seconds a lap, but no, it's the 3rd win of the season for Fernando Alonso, and from a championship point of view, an absolutely critical one. Fernando Alonso wins the European Grand Prix. What an extraordinary race, what an extraordinary drive. Massa comes through in 2nd place, and Webber, I believe, is going to come through in 3rd. And there you can see the Renaults behind them, and it looks as though Kovalainen has held on in front of Hamilton. So after all that effort, Lewis Hamilton will get nothing, I think.
Yeah, he missed a point by 1.5 seconds, and you have to say Kovalainen put in a pretty sensational final lap to keep that in place. He matched the leader's pace on a 1:43, and this then is still for position. It's Mark Webber being chased hard by Alex Wirtz. He was just 1.6 as they crossed the line last time around behind him, but only the chicane and the final corner to go. Surely Webber has got that in the bag.
Well, Mark Webber's had a fair bit of bad luck in his career, but today he has
He's gone wide.
No, I spoke too soon. Wirtz is alongside him. Webber's got to go defensive. They're on a wet track, treacherously slippery. Webber seems to be able to fight him off. Can Wirtz go around the outside? I think he probably cannot. And whatever happened there for Webber, put his heart in his mouth. He comes through for a podium, only the 2nd of his career. More great points for Alex Wirtz. You can see what it all means to the Red Bull racing team. David Coulthard comes through in 5th. It's been a great day for Red Bull, but a stunning day for McLaren and Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso climbs onto the nose of his McLaren. What an extraordinary victory. For a long, long time, it didn't look as though it might happen. He indicates to the cameraman, that is, I believe, where we went past Massa. He's not happy about it. They banged wheels as they went through. What a great communicator Alonso is. There's Mark Webber, who finishes on the podium. Well, there's a row going on in the area behind the podium here. Speaking in Italian, Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa. You saw Alonso's feelings. He pointed to the car. They banged wheels as Alonso passed him just the closing stages. They had a full-blown ruck there. Massa's pretty angry about it. He thinks Alonso was out of order. But, well, he's a strong competitor, isn't he, Alonso? And that is motor racing. There's a bit of an irony there. Look at Schumacher's face.
How much pleasure is Ron getting from taking that trophy from Michael Schumacher? That is definitely cream on the cake for Ron Dennis. He's loving that.
No, champagne, Michael, I think he wants him to take some pain, because he's certainly taken some pain from Schumacher over the years. Massa finishes 2nd, and there Mark Webber, tremendously popular podium for the Aussie. So Lewis Hamilton learned today that Formula One is not all wine and roses, while Alonso showed his true racer's spirit. Crazy race, but it's blown the world title race wide open.
Fernando, we saw you having an exchange with Felipe before you went onto the podium. What were the feelings going on there?
Well, that is normal, I think. You know, when you go out of the car, you have an opinion. He has a completely different opinion. And, you know, if we both finish in the gravel, probably we will be not too happy. but you know, we finished first and second, so you know, I will forget completely the thing, and I apologize if I did something wrong to him, and you know, I will enjoy the race.
Oh, I came to congratulate him, and then he said I was wrong. I was not honest, you know, and then I was really disappointed because you know it was not the case. You know, if I want to be aggressive, I can be much more than what I did. It was just normal fighting for the first position.
These points are very, very important to us, and was a great day's racing for everyone. I think. Okay, the crowd here is not as big as it used to be, but still a few Aussie flags out there. That's the most important thing to me.
It has been an extraordinary weekend. Good experience for me. I found my way to. Not usually when you come in, you have to go to the podium. I didn't have to go this time, so it's a new experience.
The gamble to go onto those dry tyres very early just didn't work out for you, though, did it?
It didn't, but you got to take chances, and it was my call. Things happen.
Fantastic fight back thereafter.
Yeah, I enjoyed the race, to be honest. I was always pushing as hard as I could to catch up. Obviously, Fernando drove a fantastic race, and congratulations to him. But the fight's still on, so.
When you win in the last part of the race, 5 laps to go, 3 laps to go, whatever, is something that you didn't expect, because 10 laps to go, I was 6 seconds behind, no way to catch Felipe. So, I enjoy more.
What a race and what a result for Fernando Alonso. A victory that McLaren needed so much to halt the Ferrari charge. Massa takes second with Raikkonen a non-finisher. Great results for Mark Webber, for Wirtz and Coulthard. But try as he might, Lewis Hamilton couldn't force himself among the point scorers. And so he sees his World Championship lead over teammate Alonso reduced to just 2 points, with Massa moving ahead of Raikkonen into third. And Massa is now only 11 points behind. And against expectations, McLaren slightly extend their Constructors' Championship lead over Ferrari to 27 points. And Red Bull, they move up after one of their best point-scoring weekends. And a pretty interesting weekend for those who wonder about the competitive nature of modern Formula One. Mark Blundell, your reaction to it all, in particular your reaction to what Fernando Alonso did today.
I think it's a fantastic race overall, very exciting. And Fernando Alonso just showed his true colours, two-time world champion, looking for a third championship. And the way that he drove today, it showed his depth and his character, and a wonderful result for McLaren.
Let's talk first of all about Lewis Hamilton coming off the start from 10th position on that grid. Made a terrific start.
He did indeed, and the start was very exciting. But Lewis, phenomenal start from 10th place. You can see him come into the first corner, and all of a sudden he's already down there in P4, P5. Big issue for him, though, is unfortunately the two BMWs got too close together. And it just crept into the back of the left rear of Lewis's tyre and made a puncher. But look at Lewis go by these guys. So focused. And he opens the road up for himself here. He just slips down the inside. Not a care in the world, because he's got everything under control. Unlike the two guys in front of the two BMWs who are squabbling. Those two touch, clip his left rear, causes the puncher, drops him back.
And he would show a little bit later that he is one of the best overtakers in Formula One these days. But before that came the rain, and everyone suffered, didn't they?
The rain came down, and it was horrendous. And appalling conditions, Steve. You cannot drive an F1 car, especially when you're on dry tyres in these conditions. You aquaplane, you're a passenger. Jenson Button, the casualty of that. Look at the other guys coming off. Lewis Hamilton, there you go, straight off the road. It's not down to the driver, it's just purely there's a lack of grip. You see the visibility, which is nigh on zero there. That's what the driver's got to contend with, but it's the grip levels. They've got nothing whatsoever to cope with. Aquaplaning, as I say, Sutil. About 5 cars ended up down there, Steve, and it was atrocious. They had to abort the race at this point.
But when he was in the gravel trap, Lewis had the real presence of mind to keep the engine running. He eventually got himself hooked out and back into the race.
Great foresight. He didn't panic. He left the engine just on tick over. Amazing, actually, that the engine actually lasted, because it must have been overheating. He did get the crane, picked him up, put him back in contention, as we say. And at this point as well, what happened, the safety car was out there, and Lewis actually managed to pull his lap back. He could overtake all the cars in the train, get to the back. But the big problem for Lewis, actually, he made a poor decision. He decided to stay on slick tyres when necessarily he should have been out on wets.
He said it was his call. He owned up to it after the race. What did it cost him, do you think?
I think it cost him a podium. I really do, because his pace was outstanding. He really had a fantastic start. A little bit unfortunate at BMWs, but outright pace, he should have been on the podium.
Meantime, in the dry conditions, Felipe Massa looked unbeatable, didn't he?
He looked unbeatable for sure. I think Kimi Raikkonen was very strong but went out with problems. Massa took over the fold for Ferrari, led the race and led it convincingly. But until, again, the weather changed. And at the point that the weather changed, then we saw a different Massa because he just could not get on with his wet tyres in these variable conditions.
Everyone piled into the pits and Fernando Alonso piled out of the pits. What did you make of this?
Well, a very close call here. They released the McLaren right out into the path of one of the Renaults. But this is the big issue here. You've got the two guys there. Alonso trying to get by Massa, and he gets by him convincingly, but Massa none too happy. Moves across slightly. A little bit of a fracas here because Alonso was unhappy with the way that Massa reacted on the track, and they're both unhappy with each other. I think, no gratitude whatsoever between the two of them. But Alonso, he's after another World Championship, and he will not let anybody get in his way.
And he will feel now that that World Championship is back within his grasp. He feels he might have taken control of the battle once again.
I think definitely he feels now that it's within his grasp because he's only 2 points away from his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Lewis has had a poor weekend in terms of his excellent record so far, but don't write the McLaren guys off and do not write Ferrari off. We're wide open with this World Championship.
Mark, thanks very much indeed. Now, if you hadn't had enough excitement for one weekend, here's one more last chance at our ITV F1 competition.
For the ultimate home entertainment experience, Sony is giving away a PlayStation 3 and a 46-inch W Series Bravia HD Ready LCD TV. Revolutionising entertainment on the move, the prize package also includes a PSP. Both consoles contain copies of the official Formula One Championship games. To begin with a chance of winning this great prize, courtesy of Sony, just answer this simple question. Which of these foods is a famous German dish? A. Paella, B. Sauerkraut, C. Moussaka. The number to call is 0901 293 2020 or text F1 plus your answer A, B or C to 63337. Calls cost £1 per entry from a BT landline. Calls from other networks and mobiles may be higher. Text will cost £1 plus the standard network rate. Entrants must be 18 or over and lines will close at 6 p.m. on Thursday the 2nd of August.
Good luck with that. Well, it's been a race weekend here at the Nürburgring that none of us will forget, in particular Lewis Hamilton. He still leads the World Championship by 2 points, but defending that championship lead against an inspired teammate in Hungary in 2 weeks' time will be one of the big tests of his Formula One career so far. It's been a quite fantastic European Grand Prix from us all here at the Nürburgring. Goodbye.